Okay, so let's talk about college, or more specifically, how to pay for college. Let's be real, it's one of those things that can keep you up at night, right?
Totally. Every parent I know is kind of terrified about that giant bill looming in the future.
Right. And it feels like every year it just gets scarier and scarier.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
So today we're diving into some practical strategies to tackle college costs, even if, like a lot of us, you feel like you're getting a bit of a late start. Imagine you're sitting down with a financial advisor. Let's call him John. He's worked with tons of families, and he's all about cutting through the noise and giving you a clear path forward, no matter what stage of the game you're at.
I love that approach. Clear and actionable advice is so important, especially with something as complex as college savings.
Exactly. And the first thing John always tells people is to face their fears head on, starting with figuring out exactly what you're dealing with. He says, how much is college really going to cost? This question a lot of people avoid, but he's adamant that knowing, even if it's a rough guess, is absolutely crucial.
It's like, how can you possibly plan for something if you have no clue what to even expect?
Right.
Right.
Precisely. And that's where those online college cost calculators come in. John's always saying they're like those tools for figuring out how much house you could afford, but for education.
Haha, yeah, I've seen those. You just pop in some basic info and boom, it spits out a number.
Exactly. You tell it how old your kid is, what kind of college you're thinking about, even if it's just in-state versus out-of-state, and you've got a starting point.
And even though it might not be perfect, having that concrete number, even a ballpark estimate, can make it so much less intimidating.
Totally. It's about taking that big, scary unknown and turning it into something manageable. And once you have that target number in mind, you can start exploring different strategies to get there.
Which brings us to John's favorite topic, the 529 plan. He calls it the superhero of college savings plans, and he's got a point.
Okay, so I've heard of 529 plans, but to be honest, I don't really get what makes them so special. Break it down for me. Why all the hype?
It's all about those sweet, sweet tax advantages. Seriously, John lights up when he talks about this. The money you put in a 529 grows tax-free, and you don't get taxed when you take it out to pay for those qualified education expenses.
Hold on, wait. So like if I put money in there, it just grows without the government taking a chunk out every year?
That's the basic idea, yeah. Obviously, there are some rules and fine print, but that's why it's so important to really understand how these plans work.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, what about if my kid, decides college isn't for them? I've always wondered, are you stuck with that money just sitting there?
That's actually one of the biggest misconceptions about 529 plans, and John makes a big deal about clearing that up. You have options. You can switch the beneficiary to another family member, maybe a sibling, a niece or nephew, even yourself, if you decide to go back to school.
Wow, okay, so it's not like betting all your chips on a college degree. That's way more flexible than I thought.
Exactly. And that's what I love about John's approach. He breaks down these financial tools in a way that makes them feel less scary and more accessible. Like, hey, this is something you can actually do.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've tackled the how much monster and dipped our toes into the world of 529 plans. But let's be honest, a lot of us, maybe even most of us, didn't start socking away money for college when our kids were still in diapers.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely in that camp.
Me too.
Ah.
So what about those of us who are playing catch-up? What's John's advice for parents like me with kids who are already asking about campus visits and comparing financial aid packages?
Well, first of all, he'd tell you to take a deep breath. He always says it's never too late to start. Yeah, starting early gives your money more time to grow, but even a few years of focused saving can make a difference.
Okay, that's reassuring. But what does focused saving actually look like in the real world? Give us the inside scoop. What are some of John's top strategies?
He's a huge fan of automating your savings, like setting up an automatic transfer, even if it's just a small amount like $25 or $50 to your 529 every time you get paid.
Oh, that's a good one. It's like that whole pay yourself first idea, right? If you automate it, you don't even have to think about it.
Exactly. You're less likely to spend money that's already been earmarked for college savings. Plus, those small amounts really do add up over time, especially with compound interest working its magic.
Right. It's like compound interest is basically financial magic. Okay, so we're automating our savings, even if it's just a little bit at a time. What else can we do to chip away at those college costs?
Well, John always emphasizes the free money options,
Right.
scholarships and grants.
Oh, yes. Those. Honestly, they seem a bit like a unicorn. Everyone's heard of them, but does anyone actually get them?
You'd be surprised. John's a firm believer that every family should at least explore those options. He always says, why not let someone else help pay for your child's education?
Okay, that's a great point. But to be honest, The whole world of scholarships and grants seems kind of overwhelming. Where do you even start?
He usually recommends starting with your child's high school guidance counselor. They often have a ton of information about local scholarships and resources.
Oh, that's smart.
Hmm?
I bet a lot of people overlook those local scholarships, thinking they're not a big deal.
Exactly. But John's always saying every little bit helps. Even a $500 scholarship here, a $1,000 grant there, it all adds up.
So true. It's about piecing it all together, right?
Yeah.
Like a financial aid puzzle. Okay, so we've got our 529 plan humming along. We're hunting down scholarships and grants. What about other ways to save? I mean, our 529 is the only game in town.
Well, John always emphasizes that every family is different, so he encourages people to explore other options too. Like even a regular savings account can be helpful.
Right, but those don't have those tax advantages we were talking about with the 529, do they?
You're right, they don't. But they offer more flexibility if you need to use the money for something else. Life happens. Maybe you need a down payment on a house or suddenly have medical bills.
So if someone wants that flexibility, a regular savings account might make more sense for them, even without those tax benefits.
Precisely. And then there's another option John mentioned, the Coverdell Education Savings Account, or ESA for short.
Okay, a Coverdell ESA. It sounds familiar, but I'm drawing a blank. How's that one work?
It's actually pretty similar to a 529 in that the earnings grow tax-free and you don't pay taxes on withdrawals for qualified education expenses.
Okay, so what's the catch? Why wouldn't everyone just choose the 529?
Well, Coverdell ESAs have a much lower contribution limit, only $2,000 per year per beneficiary. So if you're really serious about saving a lot, a 529 is probably the way to go.
Ah, that makes sense. So the Coverdell is a good option if you want that tax advantage growth, but don't think you'll need to save a huge amount. Like maybe for grandparents who want to contribute to their grandkids' education.
Exactly. It's all about finding the right tool for the job.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. 529s, scholarships, ESAs. It's a lot. But if there's one big takeaway I'm getting from all this, it's that the most important thing is to just start somewhere, right?
That's John's mantra, for sure. He's always saying, the best time to start saving was yesterday. The second best time is today.
Love it. So no more procrastinating. We can do this.
Totally.
Yeah.
Even small contributions made consistently can make a huge difference over time. It's like you don't start training for a marathon by running 26 miles on day one, right?
So true. You got to start somewhere,
Uh,
and every little bit gets you closer to that finish line.
exactly. Now, we've talked a lot about the what and the how of saving for college, but there's another piece of this puzzle that John's really passionate about, and it's something he calls the why.
Okay, I like where this is going. Tell me more about this why.
It's all about connecting those savings goals to a bigger vision for your child's future. John always tells parents, don't just save for a college education. Save for the future you envision for your child.
Ooh, I love that. It's not just about the degree itself. It's about what that degree represents.
Exactly. It's about opening doors to opportunities, to possibilities. It's about giving them the tools to pursue their passions.
So powerful.
Yeah.
And I imagine having that bigger why in mind can make saving feel less like a chore and more like, well, an investment in their future happiness.
100%. And John has some really practical advice for connecting those savings goals to that bigger vision. He's a big believer in having conversations with your kids, even when they're young, about their dreams and aspirations.
Yeah, like what are they curious about? What kind of impact do they want to make on the world? I love those
Me
conversations.
too. And sure, their passions might change a million times between now and college, but those conversations can still plant that seed, that education is a valuable tool for pursuing their dreams.
It's about showing them that you're not just saving for a piece of paper, you're investing in them.
Exactly. Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground today. We've talked about facing those college costs head on, explored the ins and outs of 529 plans, uncovered those free money opportunities, and even dived deep into the why behind it all. But I have to ask, what about those of us who are sitting here feeling totally overwhelmed? Like, it all sounds great, but where do we even begin? Help us.
Right, like I need a plan, a step-by-step guide.
Well, John has a solution for that too. He always recommends checking out platforms like Fiverr. You can actually connect with financial experts who can create a personalized college savings plan just for your family.
Wait, really? So it's like having your own personal savings coach, someone to guide you through the entire process and make sure you're on the right track.
Exactly. They can help you navigate those college cost calculators, figure out which savings plan is the best fit for your family, even develop a strategy for applying for those scholarships and grants. It's like having a financial advisor on speed dial.
I love that because, let's face it, most of us are parents. not financial wizards.
Exactly. So if you're feeling lost or intimidated, please don't hesitate to reach out for help. There are experts out there who can make this whole process so much less daunting.
Yes, you don't have to do this alone. That's such an important message. Okay, so to wrap things up, let's remember that conquering those college costs doesn't have to be a mystery or a source of constant stress.
It's all about arming yourself with knowledge, making a plan, and then taking those small but mighty steps forward, one day at a time.
Beautifully said. And to our listeners, know that you've got this. Even if you feel like you're starting a little late, it's never too late to start building a brighter future for your child.
Until next time, happy saving, everyone.